I'm in Margate manager Ben Greenhalgh after his side's 1-0 defeat to Cobham in the Emirates FA Cup. Ben, how would you assess the 90 minutes you've just seen from your side?
I think we all feel a little bit let down. I think probably the fans deserve to feel a little bit let down because what we spoke about before the game, knowing that we were going to go into strong wind in the first half, we knew it was going to be difficult, but we just made it even harder for ourselves. It was a relatively even first 15 minutes. And we did get the ball into their area and cause a couple of half chances from set pieces and things, but we just deteriorated a little bit, and that's something we've really got to look at. And their goal comes from a really lack of quality from us, which is disappointing. And I think if you compare the two teams tonight, don't get me wrong, look, we'll talk about the second half in a minute and what happened in that, but the harsh reality is when they were on top, they scored. When we were on top, and maybe we were on top more in the second half because they were defending a 1-0 lead, we didn't. And we need to be seriously accountable for that. And I think it's one of them that, as a management team last year, we probably took a lot of credit because of how well players were doing and how good performances were, and at probably 80% of the time how well we did play. I know there were moments when it probably wasn't as lively. Now we've got to take a bit of accountability ourselves as well and look at why people aren't performing in the same way, why things aren't being taken on from and implemented from the training field out on the pitch. Why aren't we seeing halves out? When you look at Saturday, why have we not seen it at 91st minute? FA Cup, you're 2-1 up. Whether how good the performance is, you don't let in a goal. And that's something we were really strong at last year. And you then come to today, when they were on top and when we're into wind and when things aren't going so well, you just got to be a little bit more ruthless as a group. And we really lack that today. And could it be that performances haven't hit their levels? I know Flan's very sort of on it with his analysis and ratings, and he is rating players a little bit lower than what they would normally be, and we're not getting as many sort of 6, 7 out of 10s. I think if we got 11 7 out of 10s on any day, I know that's still just an average, but we win a game of football and we're just not quite hitting that, and the frustration creeps in. When you're 1-0 down and it's FA Cup and it means so much to everyone, you can see it still means a lot to everyone. There's definitely a desire, but quality in them final moments just not good enough. And look, we've got to talk about the ref. I don't want to be someone, I'm not blaming the ref for that performance. I'm not blaming the ref for why we're out of the FA Cup, but we've just looked back at the two big moments of the half, and obviously there were other moments that might have changed things. Cannot understand why there's been a foul given, because no one's touched anyone. The goalie's gone down, which happens, and he's nowhere near the ball anyway. It's gone in the back of the net from the corner. And then the penalty's outrageous. TT's been clattered in the box and the centre half stepped out and fouled him. And look, maybe that luck doesn't go your way when you're not doing enough. I think that's what we're going to accept. I haven't gone into the change room and said that referee was on us again and didn't give us the right decisions. We've gone in there and said that we've got to be accountable as a whole team for what it was.
And you mentioned the first half and the elements here tonight, the wind and how that would have played a part. Is one of your frustrations stood here right now that the players and the team as a whole and management included in that maybe didn't feel like they adapted to that weather element, and the ball kept going up, and maybe that was the plan, but was there an element of you that wished now that maybe you'd looked something a little bit different in that first and maybe again in the second half when the wind was picking up?
I think we asked for a bit more bravery. I think we've got to be braver on the ball. We've got to want the ball more. We've got to play the ball more. And I'm not saying we are saying this has to be done and people aren't listening to us. It's not the case, because there are moments in games of football where you can't always pass. So you have to adapt. Like we're talking about, there has to be an adaptability to it. But at the same time, we're not seeing enough bravery from our players. I think in those moments, I think there were times when the ball was swirling in the air and there was a first ball won by either them or us, and then the second ball, let's get the ball down. Let's look to keep the ball. A lot of time it was going back, and then it was hard work for Ibs to keep chasing. I thought he worked his socks off tonight. He was unlucky not to score. Normally I think Ibs in any of the moments does score in them games, and that's what he's there for, but he's causing a problem and he's working very hard up there. So I think there is that frustration, there is that element to it, but that's something that players have got to bring out of themselves. And I do personally believe when you go on a bit of a rot, and it's very hard to say because it's still the third game. Being a replay, it's still technically our third game of the season, so we've got loads to go, but it's disappointing to be out of the FA Cup. I think the confidence is only going to come from progressing and winning a game of football, and we haven't done that. And I think once you win a game of football, and we hope that'd be tonight, then we were going to kick on Friday and just show that little bit more confidence on the ball, show that more bravery, and at the moment we're not there yet. So we've got to be critical, and we've got to look at what we need to do. Financially, that's going to be a bit of a hit for the club, because you look at last year, we had a great run. We went Horsham away with a replay, Hayes and Yedding. We did well against them here, took them to a replay there and dominated, and we had a couple of good games with Bognor Regis away, beating them 4-0 in the league above. So there's a disappointing element to know we've lost out on another FA Cup opportunity. And for me, getting older, some of the other players getting older, you don't get many opportunities in the FA Cup, and we're going in even earlier now, having been relegated 2 years ago. So those FA Cup runs aren't going to come around very often, and we tried saying that. A team made a brilliant point before the game that no matter what you play for, whatever it is, this is a massive competition, and we need to see that little bit of real hunger. And the harsh reality is you don't get many opportunities in the FA Cup, and the careers go by pretty quickly. And for the young boys, they may feel like, oh, I'll get another opportunity next year and things, but you have to make the most of it as the year goes. And look, we're in 3 other cups. We've got a cup game on Friday, and people are really going to have to liven up as a group for us to get somewhere in that.
Just on that, Ben, obviously Friday will come round in the blink of an eye. How difficult will that be on the back of such a disappointing result tonight, or will you use tonight as motivation to tell the boys that they must do better?
I don't know, because the first half was just, like we said, that 30-minute spell, 25-30 minutes was just really poor. So we have to look at that and understand why that's happening, because it happened against Jersey. We were slow on the ball against Jersey, and the Sittingbourne one was a couple of mistakes in a really ugly game, and then it probably didn't happen on Saturday because we were coming 1-0 up at half time. So I think you look at tonight and go, that was another poor first half, and we can't afford that. And you're always chasing. You could look at it in a positive manner and go, we did look like we were going to score. We dominated into the area. Like, there were so many goal mouth scrambles, or disallowed goals again. It just wasn't falling for us. We weren't putting the ball in the back of the net. And I think the most disappointing thing, which you looked at the stats, is our first contacts in boxes just aren't up there at the moment. And sometimes those percentages, if those percentages are low, you're more likely to lose a game of football. When you look at on Saturday, we've let in a corner, which is unlike us. So we've lost first contacts in our box, and today we haven't won enough first contacts in their box. So we've probably those last 10 minutes put enough balls in the box, whether it's set pieces, in play, crosses, and the ball's not going in the back of the net. So it could be a bit of luck, but at the same time, you've got to earn your luck in football, and that's the disappointing element. So we can be positive and go, let's go into this game after a reasonable second half, a dominant second half, but the harsh reality is we didn't score, so we're going to have to demand a lot more. And like we said, look, we're at the FA Cup now, so we've got to put more pressure on the FA Trophy.
On Friday night, obviously Eghams, and then Monday, Bank Holiday Monday at Ashford. There's going to be 2 games in quick succession. I know it's going to be tough on the boys, but a good opportunity to put tonight to bed.
Yeah, look, I think it's hard not to be negative. I think even for us, like we've gone in there, and probably one of the biggest sort of realisation speeches we've had after the game, to let boys welcome to non-league. Everything was high flying last year, and there's obviously an element of complacency this year, and not hitting the same levels. But at the same time, we have to look at the positives, because it's a long old season. We are 2 league games in. We've got 3 more cups to play with. We're out of the cup that everyone wants to be in, so that's a really big hit. That's going to hurt everyone tonight, and if I'm honest, I hope it hurts everyone, because it hurts us. And I think just around the club, we've got to remember those positive moments. So look, we had so many last year. It was so positive in the off season. We had a reasonable few games in pre-season where we looked like we were the part. Obviously, Dulwich Hamlet here, Concord here, and look, there's a dip going on. There is definitely a dip, and that's probably on us. And I don't know, we have to look at it. We have to make harsh decisions now. We've got to make decisions that are going to affect the football club in a positive manner, and that's going to be really difficult to do, because I think if you look at us, we've always been hot on continuity, but at the moment, if we're being realistic, the continuity hasn't worked yet. Don't want to jump ship too quickly. Like we said, it's very early. We're technically 2 weeks into the season, so it's one of them. We've got to sit down, we've got to have a conversation, and just see where we're at, and see what we think we can improve with, and what has to be done. And it might be really hard things that need to happen, but I'm not willing to accept that Margate goes back to those ways that I've been a part of here before. We had a brilliant year last year, and we didn't go over the line, and we've still got those objectives. We've still got that sort of hunger. It's just not been shown tonight, and I feel sorry for those fans that keep cheering us on, because we're showing a bit of desire, but just not enough for them. Not enough. Not what we shown last year, and we need to stick together as a group as well as we can. And I think as a club we need to stick together, because we all want the same thing.
100%. Thanks for your time, Ben.
Cheers, Ryan. Thank you.